weapons and supplies. But you need a place to track your stuff, cause you're so disorganized. You click open the web page, you heard about a critical role, and now you're ready to kick some butt in a mine shaft full of no's. It's TNT. TNT Beyond. Yeah, TNT. TNT Beyond. You got your stats, you got your swords, and you got your invisible war. It's TNT. TNT Beyond.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's development update and community Q&A session. I am Adam Bradford. I'm the product director for D&D Beyond. We're going to jump in. We've got lots of time for questions this week. So we've collected several of those on social media over the last couple of days. And if you have questions, I think that you can type that in chat now. We're probably not going to answer them till the end. I'm going to jump through some quick updates first. And let me see if I can find, oh, there we go. All right, found it. Okay, so today's lineup. Latest updates, we're going to go through some data for class feature options. Really interesting things here. So Warlock invocations, fighting styles, all of that is on deck for today. We'll talk about in-progress development, what is upcoming with development and our schedule. And then finally, as I mentioned, we're going to do lots of questions today because we ran out of time last time. So I'm going to try to make sure that we have plenty. Lauren, Obo Crazy Urban, is in the chat right now. So I think you can probably start asking questions now, and she's going to help collect those. And at the end, we will start going through them. So latest updates, transition development. So I can share the good news that all of this has completed and we have formally joined fandom. We're terribly excited about this. We're excited about what this means for the future for D&D Beyond and Dungeons & Dragons fans everywhere. I can't wait to see what's going to happen in 2019 and beyond. Come on, I'm allowed to do that, right? 2019 and beyond. That is a daily pun in our offices at the rate of about 10 or 12 a day. So somehow it still hasn't gotten old for us. So hopefully it hasn't for you yet either. Feature requests and the public feature roadmap. I want to remind you guys about these. So I shared more about them last week, but please do remember that we have a place where you can enter feature requests and the community can vote on them via our Zendesk platform. You can get to that by going to dndbeyond.com/feature-requests. So that's one of them. And then the public feature roadmap, we've gotten strong positive response from that. We're happy to share with that level of transparency what we're working on. And you can get to that dndbeyond.com/feature-roadmap. So feature-roadmap and feature-request. Those will take you to those two places. You guys be sure to check that out. Let us know if you have any questions. We'll cover those here in these updates. So jumping right into the data, class feature options. So this is one of the most popular requests that we've received over the course of the last several months. And so we wanted to share a little bit more, especially about those ever popular warlocks. So this is what we have for Warlock invocations selected. As you can see, if you are being a well-behaved Warlock, you cannot leave home without Agonizing Blast. So it is by far the most selected Warlock invocation. But some of the others, a little surprising to me. Mask of Many Faces makes a lot of sense. I think that we all know a particular half-orc Hexblade that has that invocation and uses it frequently. But Devil's Sight, Armor of Shadows, Eyes of the Runekeeper, Eldritch Spear, That's a really really interesting one. Eldritch Sight Repelling Blast is one of my favorites. Personally, I really like having that level of control that the enemy doesn't even get a save against. So that's a really nice one. But you can see across here that these are the top 20 Warlock invocations that are selected for active played characters. This also is only looking at data from the time that Xanathar's Guide to Everything was released to present, because otherwise our data set is likely going to be skewed very heavily towards Player's Handbook invocations. So we did that, and you can see this. Again, some really, really good ones in here. Let me know if you guys are shocked about any of that. All right, Pact Boons. So here is the breakdown of Pact Boons. Pact of the Blade carries it away just barely over Pact of the Tome, and Pact of the Chain brings up the rear. But actually a pretty good distribution of the 3 different pacts that a Warlock can choose. This is what we see of the 8+ million characters that we have available to us on D&D Beyond. All right, fighting styles. So this is fighting styles by class. You can see that great weapon fighting is certainly a very top tier choice for both fighters and paladins. 2-weapon fighting, dueling, archery, defense, all of those for a fighter after great weapon fighting, they are, pretty close to each other actually in selection. But then you see that clearly with the Ranger, that archery is the top choice by a pretty wide margin. And then you see that with the Paladin, defense is the most selected of the fighting styles for the Paladin. I actually found that a little surprising. I thought it would be great weapon fighting, but defense edges it out just barely. So these are the fighting styles by class. Let us know if you have any questions about that. We'll get to them at the end. Spell mastery spells selected. So shield is a very strong choice for spell mastery. I definitely would pick that up 100% of the time that I played a wizard that got to the level that I could use spell mastery. Misty Step, the second most. Magic Missile, classic choice there. And you can see how the rest of those spells shake out. I find it a little interesting that Detect Magic, for instance, is on here to give someone the opportunity to cast that at will when a Warlock invocation with Eldritch Sight actually lets you do that. So that's just an interesting look at the design of the classes and what the Warlock is intended for versus what the Wizard is intended for. Suggestion barely makes the list there also. So those are spell mastery spells. And then finally, signature spells. So counter spell, I actually kind of polled myself before I looked at this data to see what I thought the the answers would be for all of these. The only thing that I got wrong when I picked the top of these, just guessing off the cuff, was that Paladin's fighting style of defense edged out great weapon fighting. So that was the only place that I was wrong. But counterspell was a pretty easy choice. I thought that would be the top. But you see Fireball, Lightning Bolt, Fly, very powerful spell, Dispel Magic, which is, kind of the other way of doing the after the fact counterspell. All of that's going on here as well. So this is a look at all the class features that have options for them. I think the only thing that we're not looking at here, I believe anyway, is the totems for a barbarian. So, but again, that data is a much smaller data set because that is a subclass and not the full class. But yeah, these are several of the items. We marked several things off our list that people have been curious to see what the distribution was for. Let us know if you have any questions on that. And Lauren is collecting those. So let's jump through our in progress. So the transition development, technically, I should be crossing this out because we are more or less now, by next week, it'll definitely come off the list, more or less finished with transition development. If you were in Europe and you have any account issues whatsoever with the data transfer, if the opt-in did not happen properly, you are able to reclaim your purchases. It's a pretty simple, straightforward process, but we still need your opt-in to do that. So if you're having any trouble whatsoever, please contact our support team and they will be able to help you with that with very little trouble to you personally. Site navigation, mega menus, we've kind of had some breakthroughs on this recently. With the transition development winding down, we're going to be able to focus on this. I'm hopeful we'll get this out before too long. We are working on the Encounter Builder Alpha. I'm seeing more and more, to show for that. So the team's working very hard there. And then the character sheet and mobile beta, very excited about this one as well. That has hit in progress. And we are going to get that into the app as quickly as we can do so while keeping it a top-notch experience. So that is in progress. Upcoming. This is the same that we shared last week, but these are the next things. And we'll start seeing some of those come into in progress pretty quickly here. So we want to get a jump on the Discord server. So we are setting up the server itself. It should be good to go. We are trying to add in some special things for subscribers. So that is what is going on currently, that we're trying to determine exactly what those things are going to be. But then the Discord server is upcoming, content management, additional login providers, my characters page updates, all of those are on deck. We're going to get to them as quickly as we can. Accessibility updates. So 2019 is a big year for us from an accessibility standpoint. It's really, really important to us. And we actually are meeting with, we're thrilled to be meeting with the Dots RPG group next week. So we're going to be diving in with them about how we can leverage their expertise and how they can support us as we go into this year and trying to make really needed accessibility updates and trying to help out as much as we possibly can with the features and the tools that are coming in the pipeline for 2019. So the Encounter Builder, for instance, we are going to be building it from the ground up, screen reader accessible, all of those things. We will be trying to come back and retool some of what's going on with the character sheet to make that available for screen readers in a better way as well. And then for compendium content and just all the game content itself, we're going to be working that in over time this year as well. And then you can see the rest of the list. So exciting things to come. Upcoming schedule. So Heroes of the Veil returns with Dungeon Master Todd Kenrick and then the rest of our beautiful faces on next Wednesday, January the 23rd. And we are going to hopefully have another cast member that we're going to be able to announce before too long. Very excited about that, but we're getting all the things signed right now. So we're going to have another cast member joining us as we return. And if it doesn't happen for next week's show, it will definitely happen by the one after that. So we'll share that as soon as we have that information. But it's going to be a good time. Todd is already, just from some of the questions he's asking, got me really intrigued about what on earth is going to go on. So I'm looking forward to it. And that's going to come back next week. PAX South is happening this weekend. We have a few of our team members are going to be there, and then we are sponsoring the Acquisitions Incorporated show. I know many of you have been asking for, where is that code going to come from for the first 2019 code? If you check out what's going on at PAX South, you will have your answer. And then the Huntsville Comic Con, so keeping it local. I'm a huge comic superhero fan. It rivals, if it doesn't meet my love of Dungeons and Dragons. And so with that, I love comic conventions, and I definitely like doing something local like this. So 3 of our team members, including myself, we're going to be running some games at Huntsville Steamworks. So if you are local and you're going to be able to come to that convention this weekend, check us out. Be sure to meet us, shake hands, and everything else. All right. Let's go ahead and give away a legendary bundle. All right. So, in order to qualify for this legendary bundle, you need to type in chat. We need to know you exist. It does not matter what you type in chat. You can say, see you at Huntsville Comic Con, tomorrow, starts tomorrow, right? See you there tomorrow. You can say that I love your purple shirt today, Adam. This is a great shirt. Anything that you want to type, make sure that we know you exist. I am pretty sure that I've covered the stream delay at this point. And so we're going to give away a legendary bundle in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I almost spit my liquid there. Almighty Tails. Almighty Tails. Now, is that Tails like okay, ALES? That's good. Yeah, Almighty Tales, as in stories. That's good. Almighty Tales. Congratulations, you've won a legendary bundle. Someone will contact you after the show to award that to you. Congratulations again. So then we have entered our Q&A period. All right, so I have, let's see, somewhere, I have questions from social media. So we're going to jump into those first, and then we're going to get to questions from chat. We are doing possibly better than we ever have with time. So I am legitimately about to answer questions for, 43 minutes. So let's see how this goes. Hopefully my voice will hold up. All right. From Haggis McChaggis, maybe. Let's see. What is the average number of characters per account? That's an interesting question. So, what is the average number of characters per account? And that number is 4.5, 4.5. It's right at 4.5. So 4.5 characters on average per account on D&D Beyond. And let's see, what is the highest number of characters in a single user's account? Let's see. Since we had this one ahead of time, we took a look just before. Let me see if I can dig that up. So we have, so the highest number of active characters on someone's account on D&D Beyond, and we verified this is not a typo, 16,971. 16,971 on one account. The next closest to that is 750. So yes, 16,971. I'm surprised that person is not at 17K yet. I don't know what they've been doing the last 2 minutes. So yes, that is a lot of characters that account has created. All right, let's see what else. Highest number of characters in the staff mod accounts. Haven't looked that up, but that's going to be less than you probably think it is. Many of us are, even though we use characters all the time for testing purposes and to check things out, we're kind of clean freaks. And so we go back in and cull and delete a lot of those characters. So it's actually not going to be anywhere close to as high as the almost 17,000 characters that we see out there. Okay, two other questions from Haggis. Can the marketplace be reworked a little so the adventures and rule books are grouped together, please? Yes, it can, and that is on the list. And actually, as part of our mega menu changes, we are going to see, this is something I haven't shared yet, but we're going to see some changes in the routing, like the URL routing for some of these things. Now, if you have bookmarks and all that kind of stuff, that's fine because we're going to have permanent redirects in there. So you're still going to be able to find all your things, but we're trying to break our URL structure down into a more sensible, scalable thing for the future and all the things that are to come with D&D Beyond. And so we're going to go to a place where we're going to have just a content area in the menu. And that content area is going to let you get to, books very quickly and easily. But it's also going to change the URL to dndbeyond.com/content/phb, /content/DMG, and so on. So we're trying to simplify some of that to make it easier for those of you that like to type URLs, but it also allows us to potentially have other types of content in the future in a scalable way. But yes, the marketplace would follow suit over time. We would, there are several improvements that are coming to the marketplace. And then last question from Haggis: what is Adam's record for the most sweet tea drunk in one day? That's probably going to be a little embarrassing if I share that, to be honest. I definitely have done 2 gallons before. I believe it would probably be somewhere in there. I know that I've done 2 gallons before. And if it was more than that, I don't know if I would remember it anyway. All right. Gaius Octavian Alere, 3 questions. Are you looking into ways to implement the sidekick classes or ships and the sea Unearthed Arcana articles? Great question. So for Unearthed Arcana, we have to be really careful with how UA content goes. So if UA content comes out and it is a slam dunk, it is something that our systems that we've built out already cover, that we can simply enter this information into our systems and people can use it, that is an easy thing. That's something that's going to always happen. When a new system, a new game system comes out with entirely new mechanics, we and Wizards of the Coast work very closely to make sure that we are not, number one, spending a lot of time on something that might not ever see the light of day in a published product. And number two, that we don't waste development time where we could be spending that in other places, right? So those are major concerns when it comes to playtest content. And so what I mean by that is I am certainly not saying that we're not going to see ship vehicle combat or any of that, happening at some point in the future in the game. But I'm saying that as it came, weighing both of those factors, how early in the design process is Wizards of the Coast? How much development is that going to take for us? Those are all decision points. And at this point in time, for both sidekicks and for what's going on with naval combat and the ships and all that, we have not included that, integrated that into D&D Beyond. But I can tell you, if that stuff goes further into the process and it gets to a more stable point, then that is a point where we will likely include that content as part of UA and playtest. It is a foregone conclusion that by the time it becomes published, we would support that. And the target would always be to support that day and date, make sure that everybody has what they need from that perspective. But it is not quite as simple as just, hey, let's play test the ship stats here. Let's add a new section on the character sheet for your vehicles at this point in time. And let's throw something in there because that requires development effort. And we also don't want to develop to moving targets. So I hope that makes sense. What kinds of D&D products are you hoping to see released in the coming years? I'm not going to be able to answer that question because that was a good try there. because a lot of what I would say would be interpreted likely as some kind of spoilers because I know all the things that are happening in the next few years. But I can tell you that there's a lot of exciting things coming. It's a great time to be a Dungeons and Dragons fan. All right, let's see. Have you seen the new She-Ra? It's pretty good. She-Ra is really, really good. I think it is completely delightful that Netflix in particular, they've really led the charge here, is taking some of these older properties and doing something just really, really special with them. Loved She-Ra, loved Voltron. All of that is incredibly good stuff. I just keep crossing my fingers that Netflix is going to get in on this D&D thing at some point in time, especially as much as I love the classic Dungeons and Dragons cartoon. All right, from Steimer, are there any plans to implement more content restriction toggles? It would be nice to be able to set my character creation options to only use certain books. If I could set those restrictions for campaign characters, it would be even better. So yes, you will be very happy with what is going to come in the first pass of what we are calling content management. So this is the whitelisting, blacklisting of sources is where we'll start. Eventually over time, if we see there's demand for this, we will start getting down into a more granular level where you can whitelist and blacklist certain spells, certain subclasses, and so on. But the first pass will allow you to whitelist and blacklist at the source or the book level, and it will accomplish what you're talking about in this question. All right, let me wet the whistle for a second. All right, Sturm Trooper. Will the menu overhaul allow me to view only the purchased books I've seen, or at least have them at the top? It's a bit weird that I always have to scroll past a bunch of adventures I don't own and can't access in order to get to the campaign that I happen to be running. So we're going to see how that goes for you. Your mileage may vary a little bit in the initial release of this. So the menus are intended to allow you to access what is most used, most frequently for the initial step. And over time, we could perhaps build in something that is a little more personalized and customized to what people own. Either way, our intent would be for you to be able to go to the menu, click into the content page, be able to find your content very quickly, even if it doesn't happen in the menu itself. So we'll see how that goes when we release the first pass of that. Based on the number of votes the NPC tracker request has gotten, any chance it will get into the development queue? Part of the issue with this, let's look at this one, actually. This is interesting. It's a great question. Let's embiggen here. So NPC creator and tracker, let's see here real quick. We'll go to most votes. We'll see that this NPC creator and tracker is definitely gaining some steam here. But you'll see that one of the questions that I posed almost immediately, since it received so many votes, I wanted to understand what people thought this even was. And from the responses that we received here, part of the issue is almost everyone has a different idea of what one means by NPC tracker. And so there are a couple of things going on here. First of all, it means that people are voting for something that they don't even know what it is, but it sounds like something that they have thought about and they have a personal idea of what this thing would be, and that excites them. So this still gives us information, don't get me wrong. It means that people are interested in NPC management, especially during gameplay, is about the highest level that I can boil that up to, because otherwise getting into the comments, people are wanting different things here. We will it is very unlikely that we will ever cover everything that is being talked about in this. So I don't want it to be a situation where I say, yeah, we're going to do a NPC creator and tracker. Sure, all that's going to be easy. And then somebody come and take that to mean that everything that people are talking about here is what I'm talking about, because it's just not. They're way too broad of a scope for something that we would do like this. But I can answer to say that yes, we see there's interest in this, and that probably confirms that there is a need in the community for this. And so we will really dig in. We'll investigate what that need actually is, and then we will deliver what is going to cover most, the highest percentage of that need that we possibly can. I can tell you that from the creation aspect, if we are talking about NPCs, the way that they are treated in the game, i.e. monster stat blocks, then yes, we are doing a monster builder later this year that is going to cover NPCs and all of that. I think the more interesting part and what I'm seeing people dig into here is the tracker part, and other things that we're doing with initiative tracking is likely going to really cross over a lot of this here. So long-winded answer to say that I cannot say that this is going to be prioritized in the state that we see it here, because people are just not talking about the same thing. But I can say that this is valuable info for us to say that yes, NPC management is an important part of what the community is looking for, and we're going to dig into that and try to come up with the best solution. Hopefully that makes sense. All right, let's go back here. And Dragonborn Doug, at the table, many questions can come up that aren't covered in the books. This is why I love Sage Advice. Is there a chance there could be a small tooltip of Sage Advice for common confusion? I saw this question yesterday, and I think this is a fantastic idea. So I will start barking up the trees and see if this is something that we can make happen over time. No promise on any kind of ETA, but I think it is a fascinating idea, and I think it is a really, really great thing that D&D Beyond would make available that would not be easily available in other ways that folks play the game. Suddenly Zach. You're Suddenly Zach. Did you get your name changed? Any updates on that Zendikar UA from a while back? Will we ever see it on D&D Beyond? Yeah, there was no, as far as I'm aware, there is no Zendikar UA. Now, we saw some plane shift articles that were based on different planes in Magic. And so at this point in time, that is something we're exploring. Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica has been a very, very popular product. People have responded very positively to that. And so I imagine, first of all, that we will see other Magic integration in some shape, form, or fashion in the future. And it might be through converting some of those PDFs, but we don't have an ETA for any of that at this point in time. Ian Fibig, the auto suggest in the search is nice, but once I select the suggested entry, I still have to hit enter or tap the spyglass to perform the search, and then I get the list of results. So when I click it, why won't it just go through? Actually, if anybody's watching me right now, like I'm looking at Squalls right now. Yeah, one of our developers, Squalls. I'm looking at him right now. He's not looking at me for some reason. Oh, he is now. It's like, yeah, and here's Heartless, Dave Heartless. Like, let's just fix that. Like, that's got to be pretty easy, right? Yeah, okay. He's saying something to me that I can't see through the window, but I'm pretty sure he's saying that it's gonna be okay, and we're gonna get that fixed. So yes, we're gonna get that fixed. Great question. Lee Pierce, I see that API is planned. Is that a far future thing or a this year kind of thing? Will this be working with third parties like Arkenforge Tabletop or anyone or open for anyone to develop? So the API definitely has gotten several votes. We have known the entire time that an API would be a really, really wonderful thing. It is not, when you're asking the question of, is that a far future thing or a this year kind of thing? I genuinely just can't answer that at this point in time. We are actually internally developing a much better schema, much more modern schema for how all of our internal talking back and forth between these systems is going. And so we don't have an ETA on even when that is going to be complete. So I can't possibly give you an ETA on when anything would be revealed for the public on the API front. But I can tell you that we see that people want it and that it is something that we want to make happen. And even if we wanted to place the utmost priority on this, which we're not, there are other things that take priority over this. But even if we did, from a technical standpoint, this is a long road, and it's something that we're going to have to do a great deal of work to do this in the right way. Because as with most of what we try to do, we really want this to be high quality. We don't want it to be a terrible experience for folks. And so it is going to take a while, but I have no way to tell you whether that means this year or 3 years from now. We'll see what happens. Let's see. Deo Javente. Are you really going for a VTT on D&D Beyond? Can you please tell us more about this in the next dev update? So I'm going to have to... we are not calling it a VTT. Again, this is one of those situations where we see that people are, requesting virtual tabletop, virtual game board, that kind of thing. We're not even calling it a VTT because what we are attempting to do, I would liken to, basically calling it next gen of what's out there. And so we are trying to do something that goes, here we go again, beyond what we have currently seen. And so as we're getting into that, there's not a lot that I can share because outside of a few components that we can't quite share yet, it's not something that is a fully fleshed concept that I would remotely feel safe sharing with folks, because the moment I say something and then we don't end up going that particular route, it just causes disappointment. What I can tell you is that, yes, it is a natural extension. One of the things that we did when we started, and we said that we had no current plans to make a VTT. And to be honest, I would still kind of hold to that because we're not trying to make a VTT. But we are going to do something to allow people to play virtually and to be able to visualize what's going on in a virtual fashion. And so as we're doing that, again, it is incredibly early days. You should not, I'll go in and answer this, you should not expect that this year, but it is something that we know is a natural extension of what is going on with D&D Beyond. We started trying to fill gaps in functionality in the community because there were tools already available for playing online and all of that. So we started in a place to try to fill some of the gaps where we saw there wasn't any kind of strong presence. And so as we're shoring up those foundations and we begin to continue to try to fulfill our mission, which is giving the community of Dungeons and Dragons players the most convenience, customization, and ability to captivate that we possibly can when you're playing your D&D games, then this is a natural extension of that. And yes, of course, we'll get to something like that in the future. Christopher Ward, I don't know if we already have it or not, but will we get a tool that will allow us to see when our players edit their stats and such with timestamps and everything? This is a really good question. This is something that we've talked about internally quite a bit, which is just kind of this almost like audit history of a character. I think that we're going to have to do this for a variety of other exciting reasons. And so a byproduct of us going through that process would be that, yes, conceivably you would be able to see when your players make updates. We could probably set that behind some kind of preference for you to get notifications and such of that activity. But yes, all of that seems very, very reasonable. And I think that's something that we will see in the future. All right, wet the whistle again here. All right, now let's move on to questions from chat. Thank you guys for participating. We still have 20 minutes left. I want to get, and based on what I'm seeing, I think we have too many questions for 20 minutes. So I'm going to do my best here. All right. Saute Monkey 77. With all the data y'all gather on character creation, is that shared with the developers at Wizards of the Coast to maybe help them with new features? Yes, they definitely get the data. They certainly get the data. We've even seen they've asked specifically for certain kinds of data over the last year or two, and I can even say that I'm going to keep this incredibly generic, but we're starting to see even D&D's Beyond's existence starting to even influence some design decisions. And I don't want that to seem far-reaching or anything, but some design decisions are starting to even be influenced by the concept that, maybe it's easier to create a character than it used to be. So yeah, that's very exciting. But yes, they are very interested in the data, just as everyone in the community seems to be. Let's see. I'm going to have to cough, I think. And I'm trying not to blow out the microphone. I'm muted. Okay. Are we back? Okay. All right. Tried to save everyone's ears there. All right. So, back to Be Stray Cat. I see the Flaming Curse logo at the bottom of the screen. Is that staying? Yes. No. No plans to change that. At least at this point in time. Wyvern Win. With Fandom's acquisition of Curse, is D&D Beyond going to be linked to the Forgotten Realms wiki? We're looking into that. We'll see what happens, but we're going to try to look into that. Uber Maggot. That's a interesting one. Will D&D Beyond still be tied to a Twitch login? So kind of a twofold question here. Yes, you will still be able to log in with Twitch, and nothing about that will change. But we do plan, as I shared a little bit earlier, to add other types of authentication methods for people to choose, starting with the natural choices like Google and Facebook, potentially others in the future as well. So to emphasize there, Twitch is not going away. So nothing's happening with your account there. You can continue to use Twitch and everything will be fine. But if you prefer to use other providers or multiple providers, you should be able to link in the future multiple types of accounts to your D&D Beyond account and log in via those. All right, Tamabi. What is the most owned adventure? On D&D Beyond, I'm assuming you're saying. I think we could have some information on the other as well. But we'll get to we'll maybe get to some of that distribution and some of the future dev updates. But we've definitely got that one on the list. We've seen that question come up a couple of times. Mighty Samson, what time are your games at the con Saturday? Great question. Tomorrow, so this is going to be local Central Time in Huntsville. We've got a game starting at noon tomorrow, from noon to 3, with Dave Hartless dungeon mastering. We've got a game from 3 to 6 with Elliot Spilk, our content manager, dungeon mastering. And then there is a game from 1 to 4 on Saturday that I'm dungeon mastering. So you guys definitely check it out if you are here and local. Illuminated Incorporated question: does that mentality towards UA extend to UA classes like the upcoming Artificer? So So basically, what you're asking, is there going to be a delay on Artificer? I think is what the root of your question really is, and the intent is no. We will get this. We will receive essentially the final copy of this from Wizards of the Coast a little bit in advance. We will be doing everything that we possibly can to get that in by the week after date for UA that we have arranged with Wizards of the Coast. That would be far more what I was talking about before, would be that we haven't added the Artificer as of now, because all the previous versions of that, Wizards of the Coast have said, no, they're not, what it's going to end up being. We're working on a new version of that. And so they are getting a new version, and they have told us once this new version comes out that they feel comfortable sharing that with the community in that capacity at this point. So the idea is the Artificer hopefully will come 1 week after the article releases and it was announced for next month. Now, if they have created some kind of game mechanic that is incredibly unique or foreign to anything else that has come before it, that could get delayed, because I've seen, where it's going, but I have not seen a final. So I'm not exactly sure, what's going to happen with it. But if it stays within the reason that I have been seeing, we would have it, pretty immediately. So Flash Fletch is asking, because he co-DMs a streamed game at the moment, but he's asking any possibility of a co-DM feature under campaigns to allow 2 accounts to see the DM side of campaigns. That, for us, you guys are doing something pretty unique there. That, for us, has not been an incredibly compelling use case yet, but we'll definitely want to hear from the community. Maybe other people want to do this out there too. And so we'll see over time, but it's not necessarily on our list yet, because we have not seen that many people trying that out there. If it becomes the greatest, the new trend where people are going, then we would definitely follow suit. Swiss RPG, would you consider special memberships with more campaign slots for nonprofit associations trying to promote D&D play? We already do. It's a little bit of a secret, but I guess it's probably not a secret since I'm going to talk about it right here. But if you participate in a club or a store and you would like to have a D&D Beyond account that we call a store account that allows you to have a higher number of campaigns, that is something that we have available. But there is a vetting process to just make sure that you're not just some person that is trying to abuse the system in some way. But if you have those types of requests, by all means, reach out to our support team. In the future, I'm sure we'll have an application process. That's not in place yet, but reach out to our support team and they will share that with me, and we'll go through that process and we can get you signed up for that. All right. SPOOJM. Hold on, Will, you got me? Can you mute me? All right. Sorry about that. It's been crazy weather here in Alabama. All right. So, SPOOJM, will the Encounter Builder have an export to PDF feature? That is an interesting question, and I would imagine initially it would not. But it is something, even from a monster cards perspective, spell cards, that is something that we're looking at. It's something that we would see over time. But during the alpha, it's not part of the scope. The Midnight Archer, have you noticed much change in the order of requests in the Zendesk feature requests since you told everyone about it, I have seen what I expected, having seen all those requests come in and seeing what they were. The order that I'm seeing there is actually pretty much exactly what I expected to see. But I definitely have seen some of the newer requests coming in that are very interesting. I'm curious to see how people are going to rate those. Again, this is just one point of input. It's an important input, and we look at it on a daily basis. But it is one point of input. It doesn't, dictate what's going to come on the roadmap, but it is useful for us to see what people are engaging with and what they're interested in. And so I encourage you guys to vote on it. But yeah, there has been a change in order, but a lot of that came in the first week or so when people were discovering it. And then we've kind of established a little bit of, there's not a lot of change going on the last couple of weeks. But I do encourage you guys to continue to go out there, continue to submit, continue to vote, because it is something that we are paying very close attention to. Let's see. So 2 questions about gifting. So Ninja Squirrel asks, is there any demand to make books and content giftable? Yes, there is demand for sure. And then Sir Digby Chicken Czar 13, are we going to see redemption codes or gift cards that we can purchase via our friendly local gaming store? That is something I would love to see. It is something that I am working on currently, but have no resolution, ETA, or even confirmation that I can give. But it is something that I would love to see. The Midnight Archer. Any chance of getting something to make it obvious if you're concentrating on a spell so people don't forget? I actually just make people take a dry erase marker and just write a big C on their... No, I don't do that. But yes, this is a great idea. It is something that is on the list. It's something that we want to make happen. I imagine we will see it at some point. All right. Doom Rice. Any chance on a dark theme character sheet or website? So, just you asking that question has created so many problems with a couple of people. Yeah, see, Dave Heartless out here is just, he's literally out the window, like pumping his hands up and down. So, it's something we would love to see happen. We'll see what we can do over time. Dayspire, when will you be able to take a look at location functionality and equipment? Such as being able to put items in other items, backpack, pouch, etc. Okay, so yeah, we've been calling that containers a little bit more than location. I thought by location you meant whether it's on your head, whether it's on your shoulders, that kind of thing. But yes, containers and container functionality is something that we have on the list. It's on the roadmap. You can see it on the public roadmap under inventory management enhancements. That's where we're grouping that. And that's something we hope we get to this year. It's just that really frustrating tickle at the back of your throat cough, really, really irritating. I feel great. It's just when I talk too much, I feel like I have to cough. All right. So here we go. LB Noobs. It's probably been announced, but will D&D Beyond support Adventures League? Yes. That is also on the roadmap. It is something that we want to do, and I anticipate we will get to that earlier part of this year. It's something that we're taking very seriously. We need content management and some of that whitelisting, blacklisting to be in place first, but it's something that we want to follow up with in the character section. We would love to even see log sheets and all that be available on D&D Beyond. Technotron. My players would love to see all the PC sheet with backgrounds and storylines from the other players from the URL links. Is there a way to make that happen? So, very early on, when we released the sheet revamp, we got a very large number of complaints, significant enough to pay attention to, that players did not want to share their background information without consent. And so we reframed our strategy on that, and we came back to the most restrictive that we could make it, to where all background information was just simply not shared. And then from there, we want to make those permissions more granular, where yes, we can share a background, a backstory, we can share alignment, all those kind of things. It is on the list. It's just something we haven't been able to get back to at this time. But there's currently not a way to make that happen, but it is on the list. AMH2255, how do you keep your D&D fun separate from your work? I imagine they might bleed together sometimes. That is a very thoughtful question. And it is a question that is very difficult for me to answer, because the honest to goodness truth is I love what I do for work. Like, I just love it. I was talking to somebody the other day, and somebody was saying, this is just a dream job for you, right? And I said, not really, because I don't even think there was a way that somebody that is a kid could think to themselves at 10 years old, hey, I want to do this thing when I grow up, because how would you even know it exists? But it absolutely is this like retroactive dream job so I still play D&D. I adore D&D, and then I just get to work on it every day also. So they absolutely bleed together, but I am okay with that, and I haven't seen either one of them be impacted negatively because of one or the other. But very thoughtful question. Zaxomio, the homebrew magic items that are published are a wonderful source of creative input into my own campaign, but sorting is a bit of a mess. As of now, the upvoted stuff is all the stuff that starts with A and B, because people only get to see the new stuff in alphabetical order. Has there been any thought internally on changing this or addressing this as an issue? Yes, we've definitely put thought into this. It's something that when the homebrew revamp comes along, it is very likely that we will reapproach ratings themselves and have some sort of, as fair as we can make it, level setting of what that rating, those ratings are. Again, please don't panic if you have something very highly rated. I'm not saying that would go away, but we do want to level set those ratings a little bit when we get to that point. And we want to use much more of a system of exposing the good stuff. And clearly and obviously, we will not just go with alphabetical as we get to that point in time and as we start working that. All right. So it looks like this is perhaps the final question, because we're out of time. Lord Bunnybone, did you already prepare a crown and throne for President Sam Riegel? This is a great question. I want to show you guys this. I don't know if it's going to show up or not, but this right here is actually real live what is going on. So, internal thing where we're voting for the president of the party planning committee is actually what's going on with that. And somebody sent the wrong thing, because, Critical Role asks us on a weekly basis, hey, anything you guys want us to touch on? Somebody sent the wrong thing. Sam saw president. He did not read the fine print. And so we've created a monster. So instead of trying to fix it, I'm just going to let it play out, and we'll see what happens. And I guess, worst case scenario, he gets elected and then he has to make a party for us. And then we'll see, he'll probably resign after having to realize that he has to do work, but we'll see what happens. All right. I think that is all we have time for today. Thank you guys for all the questions. As always, tons of questions. I'm sure that we didn't get to all of them, but I appreciate all the questions that came in, and I appreciate you sticking with me through some voice concerns and coughing today. And we will see you guys next week. Have a wonderful day. Thanks.